Clerk, time 7 o'clock. I'm going to call this public planning meeting to order. The Town of Aurora acknowledges that the Anishinaabe lands on which we live and work, the traditional and treaty territory of the Chippewas of Georgian Island, as well as many other nations whose presence here continues to this day. As the closest First Nation community to Aurora, we recognize the special relationship the Chippewas have with the lands and waters of this territory. They are the water protectors and environmental stewards of these lands, and as a municipality, we join them in these responsibilities. We further acknowledge that Aurora is part of the treaty lands of the Mississaugas and Chippewas recognized through Treaty Number 13, as well as the Williams Treaties of 1923. Shared understanding of the rich cultural heritage that has existed for centuries and how our collective past brought us to where we are today will help us walk together into a better future. A motion to approve the agenda. Councillor Gallo. Ruiz. Comments, questions? Call the vote. Councillor Gilliland.
Yes.
Thank you. That carries. Any declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. Well, welcome to Aurora's public planning meeting. Purpose of this public meeting is to inform the public and obtain public input regarding the proposed official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment application. For the planning application that will be considered by council tonight, the following process will occur. Town planning staff will outline the purpose of the planning application being considered. Then the applicant will be given an opportunity to make a presentation and address issues raised in the staff report or public concerns already filed. 3, following these presentations, members of the public will be invited to offer their comments or concerns respecting the item virtually or in person and may speak twice for up to 5 minutes each time. And 4, following comments from members of the public, I will then ask of council for their comments. It is very important that the town receive the correct names and addresses of individuals having an interest in the planning application. Therefore, if you plan to speak to council at this meeting, or if you wish to be notified of any further council or committee meetings concerning the application being considered, you must complete a planning interested party and speaker request form available on the town's website at aurora.ca/planning notices, or contact Planning and Development Services by emailing at planning@aurora.ca. Or complete a green interested party form and leave it up there at the front with our committee coordinator sitting at the front. Under the Planning Act, only the applicant has the right to appeal any decision of council on a planning application to the Ontario Land Tribunal. This meeting is being audio and video recorded. Names, addresses, comments, and any other personal information are being recorded according to the Municipal Act and the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. This will help our town clerk prepare accurate minutes and to create a record that is available to the general public, including the town's website. Questions about this collection should be directed to the town clerk, Town of Aurora. I will now ask the town clerk to confirm that notification to the public occurred as required by the Planning Act. Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Respecting item 5.1, PDS 25-060, application for official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment, Aurora Mavrinac Retirement Developments Limited, 25 Mavrinac Boulevard, Block 38, Plan 65M-4731, file number OPA-2025-01, and ZBA-2025-02. The related file number being SP-2022-07. A notice of public plan meeting was published in the local newspapers and posted on the town's website. In addition, the notice was given by mail to all addressed property owners within 120 meter radius of the subject lands. A notice of public planning meeting sign was also posted directly on the subject property. Public notification has been provided in accordance with the Planning Act.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. I will now ask Director of Planning and Development Services to begin with the presentations. Mr. Romano.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll ask our planner, Ken Yang, to come up, provide a brief overview of the application, and then we can turn it over to the applicant's planning consultant, Joe McIntyre from Malone Given Parsons. And just so council, you may recall, this is an application that you've seen before. It was originally approved back in 2020, and Kenny will explain the reason why it's back. It's a minor change to the seniors apartment building, going from 6 to 7 stories. Kenny?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council, and members of public. My name is Kenny Ng, and I'm a development planner of the town. Tonight, I'll be providing an overview of the subject lands, planning applications, the proposal, as well as the next steps. The subject lands are municipally known as 25 Mavrinac Boulevard and are located on the northeast corner of Wellington Street East and Mavrinac Boulevard. The subject lands are approximately 0.77 hectares in size, with a lot frontage of approximately 83.43 meters. The subject lands are located within an approved low to medium density residential subdivision. The subject lands are designated as medium-high urban residential in Schedule B of the town official plan. Please. The subject lands are also designated as Site-Specific Policy Area 55. Site-Specific Policy Area Policy 55 permits the use of a 6-story supportive housing building. Please. The subject lands are currently zoned second density apartment residential, exception 540. This zone permits for a senior apartment with a maximum height of 6 stories and a total of 86 apartment units. The official plan amendment will amend the existing site-specific policy to permit for a 7 stories senior citizen building / retirement residence to reflect the revised proposal. The proposed additional 49 apartment units will result in an overall unit density of approximately 72 units per hectare across the special policy area and will continue to comply with density policy. The zoning bylaw amendment will amend several site-specific provisions, including permitted uses, maximum height, definition of amenity area, and reduce parking requirements. The applicant has submitted a conceptual site plan to illustrate the proposed development. The total units, including both the apartment units and retirement suites, will increase by 26 units from 203 units to 229 units. The development will provide a total of 186 parking spaces and 17 bicycle parking spaces for the users. The applicant has also provided conceptual elevations to illustrate the visual presentations of the building. Here are the elevations comparison of the previously proposed 6-story versus the currently proposed 7-story building. A review of the proposed applications has been undertaken by town departments and public agencies. Staff have identified the following matters to be addressed: proposed site-specific bylaw amendments, compatibility of the additional height to adjacent residential neighborhood and to the public realm, updated parking study to justify parking space deficiency, as well as comments to be received at this public planning meeting. Staff will continue to review the applications and provide feedback to the applicant. Comments from the public and council raised at this meeting will also be considered. When appropriate, a staff recommendation report for council's consideration will be discussed at a future committee of the whole meeting. All interested parties will be notified of any updates relating to the subject applications. This concludes staff's presentation. Please direct any questions or comments on this development to my contact. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Kenny. Mr. Romano?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If we can ask Joe McIntyre to come up, provide your presentation. Thanks, Joe.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council and public.
Joan, can I just get you to hold the mic?
Good
Thank you.
evening. Thank you. Not good at this. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council and public. My name is Joan McIntyre. I'm a planner at Malone Given Parsons for the past 40 plus years. I'm here to do a very quick presentation because I believe our requests are fairly straightforward. Next slide, please. And I believe Kenny's covered pretty much everything. I'm glad you're dealing with that and not me. So- There we go. Okay, thank you. Okay, the previous development applications were OPA zoning draft plan were approved in 2021. And the draft plan of subdivision created the block for the seniors housing, and there is a site plan application ongoing for that since 2022. Since the sites were approved, the town has updated their official plan in 2024, and there's some changes affecting the Wellington Street corridor, one of which is to permit up to 7 stories buildings at key or gateway intersections. Next slide, please. There we go. So the proposed changes are an increase in building height, a change in the unit mix to increase the number of the independent or regular apartment style units, decreasing the units with the smaller kitchen areas with a net change of 26 units overall. There is also a small reduction in parking requirements being proposed. Next slide, please. The official plan amendment to special policy area number 55, OPA 55, is to increase the building height to 7 stories. The density, as Kenny has explained, is already within the range, and the proposed amendment is consistent with the town's official plan. Next slide, please. The overall increase is 26 units, but because the zoning bylaw only does the apartment units as units, the proposed amendment is 135. The maximum height being proposed to be changed in the bylaw is 2 meters, and there's a reduction of 10 parking spaces overall from 195 to 186, allowing for rounding. So the reduction in the parking spaces was supported by a parking study and is based on the parking requirements of other Bloom developments or seniors residences. The site is located near transit. It's close to shopping amenities, and we'll have a dedicated car share program. So in summary, we're asking for 3 items: height, change in number of units, and the parking reduction. Thank you very much.
Thank you. This time I'll ask if there are any members of the public. Come on down. Just get you to state your name, and you have 5 minutes, sir.
Hi, I'm Jordan Drudge. Just a quick question, through you, Mayor. Do you have a timeline for completion on these?
We don't really go through questions, but if one of the counselors want to ask, we can get to that. If you have some comments or that you'd like
Oh,
to,
I'm sorry.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public? Close the public portion of this meeting. Council, the recommendation is that report number PDS 25-060 be received. Two, that the comments presented at the statutory public planning meeting be addressed by Planning and Development Services in a report to a future committee of the whole meeting. Someone like to move that? Mr. Ken, is there a seconder? Mr. Gallo, thank you. Any comments or questions to the applicant or the report? Mr. Gallo, go ahead.
Thank you. First off, our page 35, their slide zoning bylaw amendment, and there's a chart there. I just wanted to first off, thank you for that chart because it, and we should probably be doing something similar to that. It explains exactly what you're changing, and you actually cross out what you're changing and highlight in red what the new one is. Very easy to see what the changes are. And from my perspective, I really appreciate that. I have a question about the next slide, views from existing residential towards approved 6-story seniors building. And you have 3 different views there. In the bottom right, 2, 3, 1. And all 3 of those are in the same, it appears to be the same plane on the street, Hall Dorson and Kane. It's the same street. And if we look at the top left one, we see we can kind of see the building in the distance. And then the top right one, we see the corner of the building. And then the bottom one, you can prominently see the building. My question is, the scale seems to be somewhat off. The size of the building in 1 and 2 is much smaller and farther away than 3. The image is 3, that building is much closer. And I'm trying to get a sense of which one isn't correct. If in the bottom right in your map, 2, 3, and 1 are on the same plane along the street. The reason I ask this because I recall when this first came, whether or not a shadow study was done or is being done to understand the impact to the homes primarily to the north. And this would give me a sense of the scale and size of that building to the existing homes, not necessarily in your development, but the ones that are existing now. So through you, Mr. Mayor, if someone could address that.
We included the 2021 perspectives that were used to support those applications. And it's computer generated graphics. You can change the angle and it just changes the perspective. So the most visibility for that building is from the center of the intersection on Mavrinac and the intersection of Kane and Hall-Dorson. So standing in the middle of the road, you're going to see more of the building. The other ones are off to the side, so you're getting an oblique view. I did not generate the computer graphics, so they generally set them at a eye level and it just turns itself. Like isometric views are not probably true perspectives.
Councillor.
Thank you. It's pretty obvious to me that 1 and 2, the building is farther away from your perspective where you're taking that view from than 3. However, 1 and 2 are really the important ones because they represent the homes and what they would eventually see. Were any shadow studies through you, Mr. Mayor, done?
Joe?
Mr. Mayor, no, there were no shadow studies done.
were there any requirements for shadow studies through Mr.
Sure,
Mayor?
Madam.
I don't,
Through you, Mr. Mayor, not for the seniors building because of the distance between the proposed seniors building and the existing residential on the north side of Kane. And currently under construction, the applicant is constructing the 11 or 12 two-story singles on the south side of Kane. So because of the distance, it's probably, a 30, 40 meter distance between the seniors building to the existing residences on the north side of Kane.
Counselor.
But it is much, much closer to the new development just north of this building. There are towns and perhaps semis, I'm not sure what they are. Would we normally require a study for those homes? Now, before I say that, I noted, and just to be, if it's clear, if I'm correct, we're going from 6 stories to 7 stories, 26 meters to 28 meters. So only 2 meters, 6 feet difference in height. How is that possible if we're adding a completely new story?
Mr. Romano.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, then I'll let Ms. McIntyre jump in. I think the applicant, based on the market study, they needed the additional units, but they worked hard to get the extra story, but to compress the building as much as possible. So they were able to, again, the original proposal was proposed at 26 meters. What they're proposing here is a maximum height of 28. So they were able to, and Joan can speak to that, whether they had just dealt with the ceiling heights. But again, that's the request. 7 stories, maximum of 28 stories. 7 stories, maximum of 28 meters height.
Joan, if you want to add to that.
we endeavored to keep the building as low as possible and achieve the 7 stories.
Counselor.
So sorry, each story has been reduced by whatever percentage in order to accommodate
Yeah.
only a 2 meter height difference, 6 feet.
Three, Ms. Mayor. Yes, that is correct. There might have been a little bit extra in the first approval as well, because the plans were not progressed along as far detailed as they are now.
Counselor.
Okay, then you can forget it. My previous question, if it's only 2 meters higher, the views aren't going to be very much different than what was approved before in terms of building height. Thanks.
Thank you. Counselor Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Interesting about the height increase. So how tall are the ceilings in each apartment? What is the ceiling height there?
Joan.
I'm sorry, I cannot answer that question, but we do have representatives from Fieldgate that are present. One of Debbie Pecuniary, who I believe is signed up as a delegate, and she may be able to answer more architectural detail than I can.
Perfect. Welcome.
Sorry, I'm not exactly sure. Just based on our previous projects, ceiling heights are around 8 to 9 feet, depending on certain units, depending on which floor you're at. So I'm
Counselor?
not entirely sure. But we have filed some building permit drawings with the town that's under review. And we're going to try to find out from our architect if we can get the exact heights of each floor.
Counselor.
But they do vary.
Counselor.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Mr. Muno. So I always thought that a 9-foot ceiling was the average, and then, if you wanted to make it higher, it'd be 10 foot, or depending if you wanted to have an atrium. But I always thought that 9 feet ceilings were the norm. So could you just speak to me about that?
Mr. Romano.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So based on 7 stories and based on the request for 28 meters height, that would average out to about 4 meters per story. Typically on any residential mixed-use building, the ground floor would always be a little higher. The first floor would probably be 10-foot ceilings, if not higher. But But in my experience, on seniors projects, the average height, minimum 8-foot ceiling heights, as the delegate just mentioned, depending on some of the floors, whether it's independent or assisted living, it could be up to 9-foot ceiling height. So I think they've given themselves with 28-meter height some flexibility. So again, I think you're going to see the ground floor being, 10 plus a foot high, and the stories 2 to 7 would probably be 8 to 9 feet ceiling heights.
Counselor?
Thank you. You're averaging out with the first floor being higher. Thank you. Well, in my experience, I don't believe I've ever seen an apartment with less than a 9-foot ceiling. So I'm surprised at the 8-foot. With respect to the height, I had the same concern that Councillor Gallo had, but especially on the east and north side. So this is not a big height difference, but if it's going to be at the expense of potential comfort of the units at that ceiling height, and that's something I will look into before the next meeting, but I find 8-foot is not acceptable to me. So with respect to the deficiency in the parking spaces, that's something that staff is going to look at. What are the concerns, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Mr. Romero, what are the concerns about the deficiency in spaces?
Bruno?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we've just raised it because it's an exception. It's something we'll definitely look at. But at this point, I think they're proposing approximately 185 parking spaces, reduction of 10 over the original proposal. Our traffic analyst will certainly take a look at it and look at other similar type projects. But again, I don't really see any red flags, because we understand that the majority of the parking, although there will be some seniors that will have vehicles, the majority of the parking will be for staff and visitors. But we'll certainly report back when we come back in the fall and provide our opinion on the parking. But at this stage, I can say that I don't see any red flags with the reduction of 10 spaces.
Counselor?
Thank you. So I have a couple of follow-ups to that. How many spots are designated visitor?
Mr. Romero?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Again, we haven't finalized the final site plan. I think at this point, the breakdown we have is total of 186 spaces, 37 are surface parking spaces, 149 underground spaces. So when we do report back, we'll work with the applicant to determine how many should be designated or identified as visitor spaces.
Thank you, Mr. Munro. I have a lot of experience with, first of all, what is the intent? Is this a care facility? Is it seniors residential? Is there going to be any actual care facilities for perhaps Alzheimer's or disabled seniors?
For you, Mr. Mayor, the product that we bring to the market is an aging in place retirement. It's registered under the Retirement Homes Act. You'll have 24 care units with 24-hour nurse care with a secured floor and their own amenity space, own kitchen, common area. And then there's a mix between independent living units, which have a modified kitchen, and full apartments, which is sort of what we've brought to the market to allow seniors to sell their homes and age in place. So they generally want an apartment, move from their home into an apartment, and then as they need more care, they generally move to different types of units within the building. Or should one spouse need more care, they can move on into the care floor while the other spouse can stay in their original unit. So it really allows a lot of flexibility for seniors in this building. I'm not sure if I answered
Thank
your
you.
question, but
Counselor?
No, thank you. And that is good to hear. You did mention, I believe you mentioned decreasing the size of some of the kitchens. So that's what you mean by, to the applicant, to Mr. Mayor, by a modified kitchen as opposed to a full kitchen that we would not ordinarily see in an apartment?
I get a head nod. Yes.
yes,
Counselor.
through
And could I just know what a modified kitchen consists of?
just through you, Mr. Mayor, it's just a smaller type of kitchen, smaller unit. Why we're asking for apartments with full kitchens is we have 4 operating Bloom products across the Southern Ontario here. And basically we're finding that seniors it's a psychological thing. They want the ability to have a kitchen. It's easy for us to shut off appliances, disconnect any appliances if there is an issue with memory care but the beauty of this product is that the apartments are actually the more affordable units. Seniors could purchase meal plans. As you probably know, under the Retirement Homes Act, you must take two services. So generally, we find these seniors, everyone generally buys a meal plan because they'd like their Sunday brunch, Saturday dinners. But when they enter into the homes, they want the kitchens, and then they find over time they're not relying on the kitchens. It's a psychological thing. So for us in this marketplace, we want the flexibility to give variety to our seniors and allow them some flexibility.
Counselor?
Thank you. Follow up, Mr. Mayor, through you. So there will be dining rooms available to the 229 units?
Yes, Counselor.
There's an amenity space on the second floor for those care units. They'll have their own dining area. And then on the main floor, we'll have a bistro. We have like a pub bistro type. There's just a lot of flexibility. We have a full dining room. We have a special dining area. If somebody wants to host a birthday, they can have their family come. Seniors are very particular and they want a lot of flexibility. So we've tried to, will be our 5th home. And so we're really trying to, and especially in Aurora, we really want to put out a great product. So that's why we had to come back, just to make sure we could compete in this marketplace and service this community.
Thank you. And thank you. This is all good news. Just as long as you are sure that you can accommodate all of the people who want to dine, who want to have the meal plans. And I'm assuming with your experience that you're going to do that. So at this point, my only comment is that to have 24 units out of 229 as care facilities, like full care facilities, whether it's Alzheimer's or something else, is really a very small percentage, as the population is, as you know, aging and will require more and more to go into full care facilities. So,
Counselor, you're at 5. So if I can get you to ask a question, or I'm going to have to get you for a second time.
is there ability to transfer some of these units into full care facilities?
For you, Mr. Mayor, likely not. I want to be honest with you. This is, we've partnered up with Kosher. They're a operator out of Quebec. They own and operate about 300 retirement homes across the North America. And we're finding that's the sweet spot for this type of building. Otherwise, it'd be a long-term care facility. And that's not what we want. We want, and the seniors that are active, they don't want to be in a long-term care facility. They don't want to be with very sick seniors. This is like a hotel type of environment. This is the product that we're proposing here. I understand your concerns, but I don't, when we build these units, specifically those care units on that floor with security and 24-hour nurse care, it's hard, not to say over time, I'm not sure, but we have not yet converted any extra to care.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll take
Thank
my
you.
second turn later. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kim.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had the privilege of canvassing most of the neighborhood within a couple of blocks of the site 5 weeks ago, and many understood that 7 stories is part of our official plan. They didn't have any concerns with the additional height, and they do understand also that there's a trend towards seniors wanting to retire in the place where they live. And so we're seeing more and more, and they understand that we're seeing more and more of these retirement homes within low rises, and they understood that. A couple of concerns that came about as I was door knocking and I put out the communication was, just the constant dust and dirt with the, as you would expect when there's construction, and also they're wondering about the timeline in terms of when this construction would be completed, and the response from Fieldgate at the time was 18 to 24 months, if that's still accurate. And for those residents whose children play on the streets, they asked if it's possible to have more frequent street cleaning, and Fieldgate did respond that they would have more frequent street cleaning as is possible. So I didn't really hear too many criticisms or any other feedback, and so I think we're good with the application as presented, and I don't think there's anything else for me to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Weiss.
Thank you, Mayor. I was just waiting and ticking off the boxes here of the various things, and most of it has been asked, but the one thing has to do with the matters that are left to be addressed. And I always like to ask to make sure that those proposed site-specific amendments, can you expand a bit on those? And can you assure us that they're minor in scope so that they can be done in a reasonable time period through you, Mayor?
Mr. Romero.
Certainly, through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, and as we heard before, the changes to the zoning bylaw, there's only 3 of them. Basically, it's the height, stories, and meters, reduction in parking, and the ratio of the unit type. So they're pretty minor exceptions to the previously approved zoning bylaw.
Councillor.
Great, that's it. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Councillor Gardner, second time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With respect to when we're looking at the deficit in parking units, staff needs to see how many care people are going to be required on any particular shift for the 24 units. It's usually quite staff intensive, and what I found is that most staff are able to have their own car. So that would need to be taken into consideration. And also there's a lot of visiting, I believe, in this kind of setup, because a lot of people don't drive anymore. And so they get a lot of visitors. And so that needs to be carefully considered, because I'm sure that the last thing the residents want is overflow parking to be on their streets. So through you, Mr. Mayor, to Mr. Romano, is that coming across clearly to you what I mean?
Romano.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, Councillor Gardner, and when we do report back on the final official plan and zoning bylaw amendment, we'll have spent some time with the applicant, and we'll provide a clear indication as to the breakdown in the parking spaces, how many are dedicated to visitors, etc. Understood.
Thank you. And how many are dedicated to visitors that are required to work there? Thank you. The other
Understood,
thing,
yes.
the other thing, maybe I missed it through Mr. Mayor. I believe that the height that is allowed is 6 stories. We're not allowing a 7th story by right. And that's why the applicant is coming to the town. Our limit is 6 stories.
Mr. Romano?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just to be clear, so back in 2020, the applicant's proposal was for a 6-story seniors building, and the site-specific official plan amendment identified 6. They're coming in with an increase in 7, hence the need for an amendment to the official plan to correct that from a site-specific amendment perspective. However, the secondary plan OPA 30 for this area does have a policy that permits up to 7 stories along the Wellington corridor. So frankly, as 7 stories in the secondary plan is permitted as a right, subject to review, under the site-specific zoning bylaw. But because original application, they specifically only requested for 6, they're coming in for that change to that earlier site-specific amendment.
Councilor?
Thank you. And the RA2 zone, which they're coming in under, allows 6 stories. I mean, that's a question.
Mr. Romano?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So the zoning bylaw, the apartment zone typically specifies meters and heights. But again, yes, they are asking for that change to the zoning bylaw because the previous approved zoning bylaw, similar to the OP, identified 6 stories and 26 meters. So the changes on both documents will be to 7 stories and 28 meters.
Councilor?
Thank you, but excuse me, but that is these kind of establishments will come in under the RA2 zone.
Mr. Romano?
Generally
Mr. Mayor,
speaking.
Correct. Yeah.
Thank you.
Councilor?
And I'm glad to hear that from Councilor Kim that the residents didn't have any issues, but I'm going to tell you that the main uproar, and it was very emotional, was in 2020 when this was proposed and the residents were extremely upset. So as it was supposed, we did change this to residential, if I'm correct. It was supposed to be commercial. This was zoned commercial originally.
Mr. Romano, I believe that was through the MCR process with the region.
Yes, and we changed it through that process. So the residents who were buying in this area were expecting some kind of low rise there. So as I said, this was very poorly received with the residents, but I'm glad to hear they've gotten used to the fact that it is. And when Councilor Kim went around, didn't have too many complaints, except the usual one, noise, dust. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Councilor Gallo, second time.
Thank you. Just to confirm timing, I heard 18 to 24 months. When does staff expect this to come back to us?
Mr. Romano?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, at this point, we can come back with a recommendation report in September, October. And in my discussions with the applicant, they've already started the detached housing. They want to be in the ground as quick as possible with the seniors building.
Councilor?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the site plan is an advanced stage.
Mr. Romano?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, they've submitted a site plan. I wouldn't say advanced, but we can certainly catch up over the summertime, and we can work with the applicant on the final report on the OP and zoning and the final site plan design.
Sir?
And allocation for the previous amount of units was given, and are we looking to provide for the rest, or what's the status of allocation for water and wastewater?
Mr. Romano?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no, we don't allocate for seniors buildings in the past, so there's no allocation to this building. It's factored into our general population related and non-residential allocation.
So there's no issue?
No issue there.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? For the call vote, I just want to remind, because Councilor Garner, you mentioned about the residents were expecting office in that area. I remember that discussion quite vividly, that we discussed the fact that if it was office, they could have built 7-story office buildings on that. So it was basically a choice. Did you want 7-story of this or 7-story of that? And I think at the time we were looking at the fact that we were going to get some residential that complemented the existing area already. And I think that's once the residents realized we were able to move forward in a positive way. So I just wanted to point that out, that you could have built a 7-story office building back then, and that's why we made the decision that we did at the time. So I'll call a vote. That carries. Oh. Do you have Councillor Gardner in there? Councillor Gardner, did you vote? Was that hand just for a yes?
Yes, I had my hand up for quite a
For
while.
a yes? Okay, so it was up, so we'll just acknowledge it in. I thought you were using your iPad because it says Wendy's iPad on it, so I thought you had your IE scribe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did a hand vote.
Okay, that's fine. We'll get it in there, right? Yeah. You were fine. Everything's good. Sorry. Confirming bylaw. Someone want to move that? Councillor Gallo, Councillor Weiss. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries. Motion to adjourn. Councillor Kim, Councillor Weiss, all those in favor? Opposed? That carries. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.